Hello, guys. Today I'm here to talk about a very different kind of topic from what I usually post in my channel. Usually, if you have been following my channel for, I've made two videos before this. There isn't much to follow, but, I make characters about like my own characters, right? So I usually never make characters about other, right? I never plan to do it, but something struck my mind recently while watching the fourth trailer of Avengers Doomsday. I realized that there was once a company who was supposed to, compete against the MCU. Ringing any bells there? The DCEU. And what happened to it now? Like, I know about the new era which is starting with James Gunn, but what about the era before that? Why isn't no one talking about it anymore? So today I'm gonna make a video about what exactly happened to that DCU and exactly why did that cinematic universe fail. So let's jump right into topic. The DCU was made in 1937, with its first comic was released in 1937 with iconic characters like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They were the icons. They were perfect with no flaws and nothing, against them. They were like perfect human beings. Not until, and that's how superheroes were supposed to be, apparently. But Marvel came in 1939 with characters like the Iron Man and Spider Man, who were not perfect. They were realistic, and people loved these imperfect heroes. So the DC also realized that they need to make characters, right, which are not exactly what do you say? They're like not exactly flawless, like they're not gods. So they also began introducing characters like the Flash, which are also not flawless, and they have quite some flaws in them. And that's how the DC started. DC and MCU have been fighting against each other since the 1930s. 1930s. Did I say that right? Okay, whatever. So moving right on, DC had everything to compete with Marvel, right? So it could start its own cinematic universe anytime after with all these iconic characters and names. So the director for the next DC's supposedly starting of the new cinematic universe was Zack Snyder, and they chose to go with the movie of the most iconic character of all time, the blueprint of a superhero genre, that is Superman himself, with the Man of Steel, which was released in 2013. This movie was one of slightly controversial movies, with starring Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was just the perfect Superman with the face which was just ripped from the comic books pages. Like, seriously, I'm not lying. But there were some things about the Superman when this movie was released in 2013 that people didn't quite like. The movie was very dark, and the Superman portrayed was not like the type of Superman you would expect would like save a cat from a tree and be kind to people. Not that he was not kind or anything, but he just didn't appeal to younger audiences. Now I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it to older fans of the DCU, but kids who went to watch the movie expecting the lighthearted, optimistic Superman ignore my messages, which keep coming and bothering me. The fans were quite disappointed. It received a 57% in Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.1 out of 10 in IMDb, and a 3 out of 5 in Letterboxd. Nevertheless, it was start of the new phase, and it grossed $660 million, which is not bad. And so started the DCEU. Uh, the next movie that was announced of the DCEU is the infamous, or the wrongly famous, I don't know what you have that word for. Can anyone please tell me that in the comments? Uh, Batman versus Superman: The Dawn of Justice. when this movie was announced, it got people hyped. People were really excited to see two of the most important superheroes in history coming together in a big screen, and it was like the first step to going towards Avengers, going towards, I mean, the future Justice League, right? It was like the Avengers one, for instance. It was a big thing. It had to be good, and people were really really excited for this movie until it dropped in the cinemas, and let's just say people were disappointed a lot. The movie grossed $870 million, which is good considering the movie is not exactly what I would say is really, really good. It was forgettable. It was not forgettable exactly. In fact, it was forgettable. The writing was kind of lazy. The character felt less development. I mean, like the characters were given so less time to develop, and both of them felt like so moody, like two people fighting against each other for no reason, only because guy sent you some pictures of your family saying you couldn't save them, even though you were like 10 years old at the time, and the villain isn't exactly, I would say, a proper scaring villain. The villain of this movie is Lex Luthor, who is supposed to be intimidating, to say the least. And they gave us a character who wasn't exactly, I wouldn't say, like, he's got problems, okay? He gave me Willy Wonka vibes, I'm not even lying. Like the character, I know what they were trying to do. I guess they wanted like a psychopathy sort of villain, a villain who's like murders and then laughs about it, saying it was nothing. But it didn't give me that vibes. It just gave me vibes that the, you know, Lex Luthor was poorly written. He had social anxiety and problems. Like, what the heck is wrong with him, man? And then there's the infamous Save Martha scene, which was let's just say this scene wasn't exactly I don't know what to use a word for these movies. Like, this is why you should have a script. Like, I have no script. I just say whatever I can say when I see these pictures of these slideshows I've made, and that's why I struggle sometimes to find correct words. But I don't like reading out of a script, so I'm just gonna talk. So this scene triggered some people the wrong way. The scene had like a deliberate, you know, thing. Like Superman and Batman had as mothers had the same name. Basically, this is what the scene confirmed. And somehow, when Batman was about to kill Superman, he decided to say, "Save Martha, find him," and Batman freaked out because that was his mother's name. And then Louis Lane came and be like, "Wait, wait, that's his mother's name as well." And I don't know, that's supposed to be a feel good moment, but to me, it just felt weird. And I did not like that scene too much. It got a 6.4 out of 10 in IMDb, which is quite high if you ask me, and a 28% in Rotten Tomatoes, which does it justice, I guess, and a 6.4 out of 10 in Prime Video. This movie also starred Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, who was one of the best aspects of this movie. Which brings us to the next DCU film. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to point this out. If you guys are like, if anyone thinks that it's because of the fatigue, so no one likes superhero movies, Avenger was released in the same, no, not the same year. I mean, Captain America: Civil War was released in the same year, and Avengers were released close enough, and all three of the movies grossed more than $1 billion and have amazing score in Rotten Tomatoes. The first Avengers has a 91%. The second Avengers has a 75% because a lot of people didn't like the Age of Ultron as much, and the Civil War has a 90%. They have a really good score in IMDb as well. So it's not superhero fatigue or something like that. It's that these movies had good character development and the characters were interesting to watch. The movie was exciting and not just a boring piece of homework. So that's why these movies worked out and that one did not. But the next movie in the franchise did a good job. It was Wonder Woman, one of the best part of Batman versus Superman, which is not saying a lot. But this movie was released in after Batman versus Superman, and it had all the reasons to be a flop because that movie was not as good. Okay, but people actually really love this movie. Even I watched this movie, and though I have to say, I wish they had given Wonder Woman more of a personality and not just made her this badass girl boss that Hollywood loves to do. But okay, the story was pretty good, and I feel like Gal Gadot was quite accurate as Wonder Woman. And the movie in general scored 75% in Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.53 out of 10 in IMDb, and grossed over $800 million. And people really liked her. So the DCEU might not be dead. They have a second chance with the Justice League. This was the next movie which was supposed to be released after Wonder Woman, and this had to be good, right? Because this is the biggest moment for the DCEU, bringing all the major characters together. Now, when this movie was in production, they faced a major problem. Zack Snyder, who was supposed to direct Justice League, had to leave the movie because his daughter passed away. This was a massive problem because they brought in the director of the Avengers movie, and so because what they're trying to do, it's quite obvious. They were trying to copy the MCU, and bringing in Joss Whedon, who had directed Avengers 1 and 2, would it make the movie similar to the Avengers and maybe more appealing to people? So maybe DCU used this as a excuse to kind of change the tone because they thought it's gonna fail again, just like how Batman versus Superman did. But you can't really blame the DCU either because the Justice League was also supposed to be released, and Zack Snyder couldn't just come because he had faced one of the most biggest losses of his life. So Joss Whedon was now the director of the Justice League. Now this is where problems started, right? Josh wanted to change many things about the movie, but time was short, okay? And they had to make reshoots and leave out all hopes of a Justice League Part 2 with the shortage of time. And they needed to do so many reshoots that Josh Whedon asked for more time for the Warner Bros, but obviously they did not have more time, and the movie was released, and audience hated it. Okay, we literally saw Henry Cavill with the AI, not AI, CGI removed mustache, which is one of the worst CGI things they have ever done. Like, you can literally say that's like there's something on there which has been tried to be covered. Like, what were they thinking? I don't understand. But it grossed a 6 out of 10, and no, it grossed a $661 million, which is not bad, but it is by far inferior to what Marvel was grossing, especially since after this time they released like Infinity War and Avengers Endgames, which was it. It was it for the DCU, because there was no way they could compete those two blockbuster like movies which all of us love, and it was impossible for them to compete with it, considering that both of these movies grossed more than 1 billion, and the total Avengers journey grossed $7.4 billion worldwide, which is so much more than what the movie grossed altogether. I mean, all the DCU movies grossed altogether. And Justice League was one of the most expensive projects because they had to do so many reshoots, and the movie was just supposed to be so good. Now, we can't just blame the directors over here or bad luck. The movie's story in general did not appeal to me. They had a villain with a what can I say? what is the word? I don't remember the word. Yeah, they had a villain with a motive. I just couldn't remember motive for some reason. But which was very similar to Thanos, if I'm thinking right now. And he's after mother boxes, which are in Atlantis and with the Amazons, which involves Wonder Woman and Aquaman. But the problem with this movie was the way they had underdeveloped the characters. We knew nothing about the Flash before this movie, nothing about Cyborg before this movie, almost nothing about Aquaman in before this movie, and they did not take the time in these movies to explain the characters, because probably that would have taken a longer time, and that would have led less amount of time in being played on screens in movies. So this was a horrible mess, and it was like people hated it again. Okay, so it was horrible with underdeveloped characters and some behind the scenes drama. Now, there is something else we need to talk about after this movie. Aquaman was released. Okay, Aquaman was had every right to be a flop again, just like Wonder Woman, because it was a direct sequel to Justice League. But it grossed over $1 billion. The movie was fun. People loved the characters. They were nicely developed, which is a problem. And it wasn't like a masterpiece in cinema or something like that, but it was a quirky, standalone superhero movie, which people, casual audiences just loved it. I loved this movie, and there were jokes, and the movie was funny. It was not always serious, and for the first time in a century, we could see light and we could see working, and even the underwater scenes were really good in this movie. The movie got a 66% in Rotten Tomatoes, 6.8 out of 10 in IMDb, and 6.8 out of 10 in Prime Video. It was pretty good. So will Warner Bros. Now use the success of Aquaman and do something spectacular, because now it seems like they have a third chance? Do they do it? Do they do it? No, they don't. After this movie, they just went for a bunch of sequels and cheap cash grabs. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. They released so many movies, with most of them having almost no marketing, and most of them were like sequels, because they knew that the first part was a hit, which means the second part must be a hit as well. Like, literally, I didn't even knew Blue Beetle existed till I was doing research for this movie. And seriously, Aquaman, the and the Lost Kingdom is inferior to the first Aquaman movie. So is Wonder Woman 1984, which to me wasn't appealing at all. And then you have all these horrible movies like the Joker 2 and Birds of Prey and Black Adam. Uh, let's not talk about Black Adam much. Then Shazam, which was good at the first part of the movie, I remember, was again like a quirky superhero movie. But the second part was just so bad. I did not like it at all. It is a very good example of the more the heroes, the worse. And then you had The Flash, the most controversial DCU movie with controversial actors. Um, let's not go into details about that. So the DCU seemed dead after this, because literally after almost, these are just 8 movies I could fit in this page. There are many, many more movies which just were so bad that you can't. There was no chance for them ever thinking about competing with Marvel, and it seemed like this is the end of the DCEU with all these flops and really bad movies. But then, with the question that will the DCU ever return, came a new hope, ray of hope, rather. James Gunn, who was fired from Disney, was hired by Warner Bros. As the head of the DCEU, and James Gunn had a different plan for the entire DCEU. He decided to cancel out everything that has been done previously, like forget Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, and all the other characters who played major roles, and now he rebooted the entire cinematic universe, and he's gonna start it all again. He's already began it with the Superman movie that was released in July 11 of 2025. It was pretty good, to tell the truth, and maybe now there is hope for the DCEU. Only time can tell. Is it dead, or is it still alive? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little different to what type of video I usually make. But if you guys like seeing these type of videos, then you can follow my channel. I will make more videos like this in the future, and keep an update for a new character who will be coming up soon. Bye bye.